What if I told you that everything you've been taught about happiness is backwards? That the secret to true peace isn't about gaining more, but about needing less? That the key to freedom isn't in holding on tighter, but in learning how to let go? Welcome to what might be the most important video you'll watch this year. This isn't just another self-help pep talk or spiritual bypassing. This is a raw, practical guide to one of life's most valuable skills, the art of detachment. And I promise you, by the end of these 15 to 20 minutes, you'll have tools that can transform how you experience every aspect of your life. Look around at our world today. We're more connected than ever, yet more anxious. We have more possessions, yet feel emptier. We chase after relationships, success, and validation, yet we're never satisfied. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from attaching ourselves to external things, money, status, people, outcomes. But here's the painful truth no one tells you: attachment is the root of all suffering. Every time you felt hurt, disappointed, or anxious, it came from being too attached to a person, to an expectation, to a particular version of how things should be. Now, before you click away thinking this is about becoming some emotionless robot, let me be crystal clear: detachment isn't about not caring. It's not about shutting down your heart or avoiding commitment. True detachment is actually the opposite. It's about caring so deeply that you're no longer controlled by your attachments. It's about being able to love without possession, to work without obsession, to live without constant fear of loss. Imagine two people standing at the edge of the ocean. One clings desperately to a single wave, trying to freeze it in place, screaming when it inevitably slips away. The other stands calmly, appreciating each wave as it comes and goes. Which one do you think experiences more peace? More joy? More freedom? This is the power of detachment. It's what allows some people to navigate life's toughest challenges with grace while others are destroyed by them. It's what separates those who are tossed around by every change in circumstance from those who remain steady amidst the storm. Throughout human history, every wisdom tradition has pointed to this truth. The Buddhists call it non-attachment. The Stoics called it the discipline of desire. The Taoists call it wu wei, effortless action. Even modern psychology confirms that our ability to detach from negative thoughts and emotions is key to mental health. But here's what most guides on detachment get wrong: they make it sound like something you either have or you don't. Like it's some magical state that only monks in mountains can achieve. That's complete nonsense. Detachment is a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly how to do this in 4 powerful sections. First, we'll destroy the biggest myths about detachment. Then we'll explore the psychological and philosophical foundations. After that, I'll give you practical exercises you can start using today. And finally, we'll look at how to apply this to relationships, work, and daily life. But before we dive deeper, I need you to make a decision right now. Are you ready to challenge everything you've been taught about how to find happiness? Are you willing to consider that maybe the solution to your anxiety, your dissatisfaction, your fear isn't out there in the world, but in how you relate to it? If your answer is yes, then let's begin with the most important question: what exactly is detachment, and why does it work so powerfully? Let's strip away all the spiritual buzzwords and get to the raw truth about detachment. At its core, detachment is simply recognizing one fundamental fact of existence: everything is temporary. Every thought, every feeling, every relationship, every possession, all of it comes and goes. And the more we fight this truth, the more we suffer. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled the known world, would remind himself every morning: "Today I shall meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." He wasn't being pessimistic, he was practicing detachment by accepting reality as it is, not as he wished it to be. The Buddhists take this even further with their concept of anicca, the truth of impermanence. They teach that suffering comes from trying to hold on to what is inherently fleeting. Imagine holding your hand in a flowing river. The water constantly moves and changes. Now imagine the suffering that would come from trying to keep the exact same water in your hand forever. That's what we do every day with our attachments. But here's where most people get stuck. They hear these ancient teachings and think, that sounds nice, but how does it actually work in my messy, modern life? That's exactly what we're going to explore now with 3 psychological pillars of detachment. First pillar, cognitive distance. This is the ability to step back from your thoughts and see them as mental events rather than absolute truths. When you're consumed by anger or anxiety, it's because you've become fused with those thoughts. Detachment means being able to say, I'm noticing that I'm having angry thoughts rather than I am angry. Second pillar, emotional regulation. Studies in neuroscience show that emotions peak and begin to subside within about 90 seconds if we don't feed them with our attention. Detachment means letting that wave pass through you without drowning in it. It's the difference between saying I feel sad right now and I am a sad person. Third pillar, value-based action. This is where detachment becomes truly powerful. It's about aligning your actions with your deepest values rather than being jerked around by passing thoughts and emotions. Think of it like sailing. The wind, your thoughts, emotions, will always change, but you can still steer toward your destination. Now let's talk about what detachment is not, because there are dangerous misunderstandings out there. Detachment is not dissociation, it's not checking out from reality. It's not emotional repression, it's actually feeling your feelings more fully but not being controlled by them. And it's certainly not abandoning responsibility, it's taking action from a place of clarity rather than fear or desperation. The modern psychology term for this is psychological flexibility. The ability to stay present with difficult experiences while still moving toward what matters. Research shows this is one of the strongest predictors of mental health and resilience. In other words, detachment isn't just philosophy, it's science. But here's the critical insight that changes everything. Detachment isn't something you do just when things go wrong. It's a way of relating to all experience, good and bad. Most people only try to detach from pain, but true wisdom means equally detaching from pleasure. Why? Because clinging to pleasure creates its own kind of suffering, the fear of losing it, the desperation to maintain it. This brings us to perhaps the most important distinction in detachment, the difference between enjoyment and clinging. You can fully enjoy a beautiful sunset without trying to trap it in a box. You can deeply love someone without needing to control them. This is the essence, appreciating life's gifts without demanding they last forever. Now that we've laid this philosophical and psychological foundation, you're probably wondering, okay, but how do I actually practice this? That's exactly what we're diving into next with concrete, actionable exercises you can start using today. Let's move from theory to practice. I'm going to give you 5 powerful exercises that will train your detachment muscles. These aren't abstract concepts, they're concrete techniques used by everyone from Navy SEALs to Buddhist monks to elite athletes. First exercise, the 90-second emotion timer. Neuroscience shows that when an emotion arises, the biochemical surge lasts about 90 seconds if we don't feed it. Here's how to use this next time you feel a strong emotion. Anger, anxiety, even intense excitement, set a timer for 90 seconds. Your only job is to observe the physical sensations without acting on them. Feel where it lives in your body, the tight chest, the hot face, the clenched jaw, and simply watch it like a scientist observing an experiment. This builds the crucial skill of feeling emotions without being controlled by them. Second exercise, the mental labeling technique. This comes directly from mindfulness research at Harvard. When a thought arises, silently label it by category: planning thought, worrying thought, remembering thought. That's it. This creates automatic distance between you and your thoughts. Studies show this simple practice reduces emotional reactivity by over 40% with regular use. Try it right now. Whatever thought you're having, just categorize it. See how it immediately feels less personal? Third exercise, the worst-case scenario drill. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum. Pick one thing you're anxious about right now and vividly imagine the absolute worst possible outcome. Then ask yourself, could I survive this? Would I still find meaning? You'll discover you're far more resilient than your fears suggest. This isn't pessimism, it's emotional vaccination. By consciously facing what we unconsciously fear, we drain it of power. Fourth exercise, the possession purge. Go to your closet right now and pick 5 items you haven't used in the past year. Not the obvious junk, items you feel some attachment to but don't actually need. Give them away today. This physical practice creates neural pathways for mental detachment. Every time you do this, you're teaching your brain, I am not my possessions. Fifth exercise, the daily death meditation. This sounds intense because it is. Spend 60 seconds each morning imagining this is your last day alive. What would you let go of? What would truly matter? This isn't morbid, it's liberating. The things we cling to soften when viewed through the lens of mortality. Research shows this practice significantly increases both happiness and detachment when done consistently. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. These exercises will feel uncomfortable at first. That's not a sign they're not working, it's proof they are. You're rewiring a lifetime of attachment patterns. Expect resistance. Both internal and sometimes from people around you who are invested in you staying attached. Here's how to troubleshoot common struggles. If you find yourself avoiding the exercises, start smaller. Even 10 seconds of observation counts. If emotions feel overwhelming, focus on physical sensations, the coolness of air entering your nostrils, the weight of your body on the chair. If your mind says this is stupid, label that as a doubting thought and continue. Remember, you're not trying to empty your mind or stop caring. You're practicing the art of conscious engagement, choosing where to place your attention and energy rather than being hijacked by automatic patterns. Now let's make this brutally practical. How does detachment actually look in the areas that matter most? In relationships, detachment means loving without leash. Try this next time you're with someone you love. Notice any subtle demands you're placing on them to act certain way, to make you feel certain things. Then silently say, I release my need for you to. This isn't about caring less, it's about controlling less. Healthy relationships need space to breathe. Studies show the healthiest couples maintain both deep connection and personal autonomy. In work, career, implement the process over outcomes method. Each morning, write down 3 actions you'll take, process, and 0 results you expect, outcomes. For example, I'll make 10 sales calls and not I'll close 2 deals. This trains your brain to value effort over attachment to specific results. Paradoxically, this often leads to better performance because you're operating from clarity rather than desperation. With technology, practice single tasking with detachment. Pick one task, set a timer for 30 minutes, and put your phone in another room. When the urge to check arises, and it will, simply notice it as the checking urge and continue working. This builds what psychologists call response inhibition, the crucial ability to not act on every impulse. Each time you do this, you're literally rewiring your brain's attachment to dopamine hits. With past traumas, use the story detachment technique. Write down your version of a painful event, then rewrite it from a neutral observer's perspective. Then rewrite it again from the other person's view. This doesn't excuse harm, but it prevents one narrative from owning you. Therapists find this more effective than traditional letting go approaches because it works through cognitive reframing. Final challenge, for the next 24 hours, practice detached engagement. Fully participate in your life while maintaining inner observation. When in conversation, notice yourself wanting to impress or convince, then gently release that. When eating, notice the urge to rush, then slow down. This isn't about perfection, but awareness. Each moment of noticing is a victory. As we close, remember, detachment isn't a one-time achievement. It's a daily practice of remembering what's real. That you are not your thoughts, not your feelings, not your roles. Beneath all that is a consciousness that can observe it all without being crushed by any of it. Your homework is simple but profound. Pick one exercise from today and practice it consistently for the next 7 days. Notice what changes. Then build from there. True freedom isn't found in some distant enlightenment, it's available right now, in your willingness to hold life lightly while engaging with it fully. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments which exercise you're trying first. And if you want more no BS philosophy for modern life, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Until next time, practice detachment, not as rejection of life, but as the deepest embrace of what truly matters.